All right, stop scrolling. I don't care if this is playing in the background while you're making noodles or pretending to work. Listen up for a second because this right here, this might be the slap in the face you didn't even know you needed. You ever have that moment where you look around your life and think, wait, how did I end up here? Like, not in some big dramatic crash, but in that weird low grade blah where everything feels off, like you're sleepwalking through your own damn story? Yeah, that. You're not alone. In fact, I bet right now you're juggling 42 things in your head. Stuff you should be doing, stuff you're avoiding, stuff you're low key panicking about at 3 a.m., but pretending isn't a big deal. And somehow you've gotten really, really good at coping, but not actually living. You know what I mean? Maybe you've been powering through work you hate, scrolling through everyone else's shiny lives, telling yourself you're just in a rough patch. But deep down, there's that voice, that tiny, annoying whisper that says, something has to change. And you've been shushing it with the distractions, Netflix, doom scrolling, random Amazon purchases that felt good for 4 seconds before the dread came creeping back. Look, no shame. We've all done it. I've done it. But here's the truth no one wants to say out loud. Nothing changes if you don't. Full stop. You can watch a million motivational videos, save all the quotes, make vision boards till your printer runs out of ink, and still wake up feeling stuck as hell. Because here's the thing your life doesn't get better by accident. It gets better when you wake up and decide to do something, even if it's tiny, even if you're scared, even if you have no freaking clue what you're doing. And honestly, that's why you clicked this. You might have thought it was random or you were just curious, but no. Deep down, part of you knows it's time to wake up, to stop sleepwalking, to call yourself out in the most loving, no nonsense way possible. So let's make a deal. Right here, right now. For the next few minutes, no pretending. No, I'm fine. No, I've got time. Just you and me being real for once. Because you deserve that. You deserve a life that doesn't feel like you're just passing time. You deserve to feel alive again. And step one is happening right now. You already took it by clicking. But we're just getting started. Stay with me. Let's crack this thing open. All right, now we're getting into it. And today's target? Motivation. Oh yeah, that magical unicorn everyone's chasing. Let me guess. You've been waiting for the right moment. You know, that mystical day when you wake up and suddenly feel like a productivity machine? You pop out of bed like, today is the day I change my life. Yeah, me neither. Here's the thing no one tells you. Motivation is a scam, not in the way where it's totally useless, but in the way where we've been trained to believe it's the starting point. Like, we have to feel good before we can do good. Spoiler, that's backwards. Motivation isn't the gas in the tank, it's the exhaust. It shows up after you've already started moving. Think about it. When was the last time you felt super motivated to do something hard before you actually did it? Never. You feel motivated when you see progress. You feel motivated when you get that tiny taste of momentum. But until then, it's just crickets. And your brain's in the back like, nah, let's wait until we're inspired. Let's binge watch 6 hours of YouTube first. We'll totally get serious tomorrow. You know what that is? That's your brain lying to you again. Remember chapter 2? Same game. New mask. And here's the brutal truth. If you only move when you feel like it, you're never going to move enough to change anything. I know. Sounds harsh. But tell me I'm wrong. We've all sat there, hyped up by some epic speech or a fire playlist, ready to conquer the world for about 20 minutes. Then what? Back to scrolling. Back to comfort. Why? Because hype fades fast. And if that's your fuel, you're stalling out every single time. What really matters is discipline. And I know that word sounds like punishment, right? Like some boring parent voice wagging its finger. But real talk, discipline is freedom. It's the thing that lets you build the life you want, even when you don't feel like it, especially when you don't feel like it. Here's the secret sauce. Action breeds motivation, not the other way around. You take a step, any step, and suddenly your brain's like, oh, wait, we're actually doing this? Okay, let's get on board. But it starts with action, always. I'll tell you a quick story. There was a time I hated working out. Hated it. Every morning I'd tell myself I was too tired, too busy, too whatever. I waited for motivation that never came. Until one day I made a rule. 5 minutes. That's it. I told myself I'd work out for 5 minutes, and if I still hated it after that, I could stop. Guess what? 99% of the time, I kept going. Why? Because the hardest part is starting. Once you break the seal, you build momentum. You shift from I can't to I am. That's the key. So here's your next challenge. Stop waiting to feel ready. Pick one thing, just one, that you've been avoiding, and do the smallest version of it. 5 minutes, one page, one email, one step. Whatever it is, start small and start now. Because if you're waiting for motivation, you'll be waiting forever. But if you start anyway, you create your own. And that's where the magic happens. All right, let's get personal for a second. Because I know it's easy to sit here and listen to advice and think, cool story, but you don't know my mess. My situation's different. Fair. So let me pull the curtain back and show you my mess. Trust me, it was a full-on crash and burn. I had this phase years of my life, actually, where from the outside, it looked like I was winning. Decent job? Check. Bills paid? Check. Smiling in photos like life was amazing? Check. But inside, it was chaos. Quiet chaos. The kind that doesn't make headlines, but eats you alive from the inside out. I'd come home, sit on the couch, and feel this crushing emptiness, like, is this all there is? And it wasn't one big dramatic meltdown. Nope. It was death by 1,000 cuts. Small betrayals to myself every day. Promises broken. Goals abandoned. I kept telling myself, it's just a phase. I'm fine. I'll figure it out soon. Sound familiar? I was basically living in denial with a smile on my face. And here's the kicker. I got really good at hiding it from everyone else, and especially from myself. Until one night, total cliche but also 100% true, I hit my wall. I remember it like a movie scene. Sitting alone, lights off, scrolling through my phone, feeling completely disconnected from everything and everyone. And suddenly, it hit me like a freight train. The common denominator in every single one of my problems was me. Oof, that one stung hard. I had spent so much time blaming circumstances, other people, bad luck, you name it. But in that moment, brutal clarity punched me right in the gut. I was the one making the choices. I was the one avoiding the hard stuff. I was the one keeping myself small because I was terrified of what might happen if I actually showed up fully. And let me tell you, realizing that sucked. It hurt. I felt like I'd let myself down in 1,000 quiet ways. But weirdly, it was also the most freeing moment of my life. Because if I was the problem, that meant I was also the solution. No magic fix, no overnight transformation. But for the first time, I wasn't waiting on life to happen to me. I saw that I had power, messy, imperfect, uncomfortable power to change things. And yeah, it was awkward at first. I fell on my face a lot. But that shift, that realization that it was all in my hands, that was the beginning of everything getting better. Not instantly, but piece by piece, day by day. So why am I telling you this? Because maybe you're sitting there right now feeling stuck, frustrated, or just numb, and you're waiting for something, anything, to shake you out of it. Well, let this be your shake, your punch in the gut clarity. The moment you stop looking outside yourself for the fix and start looking in. Because trust me on this, the moment you take ownership of your mess, you get access to your power. And that's the real game changer. All right, so you've swallowed that bitter pill of radical honesty. High five for that, seriously. But now comes the next twist in the game. How do you stay honest with yourself when your brain is basically a world-class magician at spinning BS? Because here's the thing. They don't tell you this in school, but we are all masters at self-deception. Olympic level, gold medal, and it's not always obvious. Sometimes your lies are dressed up real pretty. You'll say things like, I'm just being practical, when actually, you're avoiding risk. Or, I'm prioritizing my peace, when really, you're scared of confrontation. My personal favorite, I don't have time. HA please. We both know if Beyonce can find time to work out, you can too. And I say that with love. So, how do you catch your own BS before it runs your whole life? Enter the mirror test. This is simple but not easy. Here's how it works. Every time you catch yourself making an excuse or about to quit on something that matters, I want you to pause and ask one question. Is this the real reason or just the easy reason? Boom, that's it. That's the test. And let me warn you, your brain hates this question because it shines a spotlight right where your comfort zone hides. It forces you to face the real reason behind your choices, not the sugar-coated version. Let me give you an example. Say you've been skipping workouts. You tell yourself, "Well, I'm too tired." Okay, fair, but pause. Mirror test time. Is that the real reason, or is it the easy reason? Because if we're being honest, maybe you're not just tired. Maybe you're unmotivated because you don't see fast results and it's messing with your head, or maybe deep down you don't believe you're worth the effort yet. Ooh, that hits different, right? But that's the point. The mirror test cuts through the fluff. It's like having a brutally honest friend who's not afraid to call you out, except that friend is you. And here's the beauty of it. Once you get in the habit of asking this question, you start catching your excuses in real time. You stop taking your own BS at face value. And suddenly, you've got clarity. You've got power. You're no longer just reacting to life. You're choosing how to show up. One more thing. The mirror test isn't about beating yourself up. It's about awareness. It's about spotting the gap between what you say and what's actually true so you can close it. So here's your challenge for this chapter. Every time you hit a wall, whether it's a task, a conversation, a commitment, pause. Ask yourself, is this the real reason or just the easy reason? And sit with whatever answer comes up, even if it's uncomfortable. Especially if it's uncomfortable, because discomfort, that's where growth begins. The mirror doesn't lie. The question is, are you brave enough to look? All right, so now you've faced the truth. You've stared yourself down in the mirror and spotted your own BS like a pro. Solid work. But let's be real. Knowing is one thing. Doing, whole different beast. And here's where most people get stuck. They think change has to be big, loud, dramatic, like some Hollywood makeover montage where everything shifts overnight. But let me hit you with a reality check. Real change usually starts small. Stupidly small. The kind of small that almost feels too easy. And that's exactly why most people skip it. They think, nah, that can't be enough. I need to go all in. So they wait. They stall. They dream about the perfect time to make a grand gesture. And guess what? Nothing changes. Ever. Here's the magic no one tells you. The smallest step you take today will get you farther than the biggest plan you never start. Every single time. Think of it like this. Imagine a giant boulder. You push and it barely budges. You push again. Still barely moves. But you keep at it. Little by little, you build momentum. Suddenly, that boulder's rolling. And now, it's unstoppable. That's how action works. The tiniest nudge can set off a chain reaction that changes everything. Let me give you a real example. I once had a goal, write a book. Big, right? Massive. And every time I sat down, I'd freeze because the task felt too huge. Like staring up at Everest in flip-flops. So I made a deal with myself. One sentence. That's it. Just one damn sentence a day. Sounds dumb, right? But here's what happened. One sentence turned into two. Two turned into a paragraph. Some days, that was it. Other days, I got into flow and knocked out whole chapters. And before I knew it, the book was done. Not because I waited for the perfect wave of motivation, but because I started tiny and kept moving. That's what I want for you. Forget the grand plan for a second. Forget the vision board. Ask yourself this. What's the smallest, most embarrassingly simple action I can take today toward the thing I want? Want to get fit? Do 5 push-ups. Want to start meditating? Sit in silence for 60 seconds. Want to change careers? Google one article about the field you're curious about. That's it. Not sexy, not glamorous, but real. And here's the kicker. Small steps don't just add up, they compound. They build confidence. They retrain your brain to trust that when you say you're going to do something, you actually show up. That's huge. So here's your challenge. Right now, think of one goal. Got it? Cool. Now figure out the absolute smallest step you can take toward it today. Not tomorrow, not next week. Right now. And do it. One step. That's your job. Because momentum doesn't start with a leap. It starts with a nudge. And once you've got that, you're already ahead of 99% of people who are still waiting for their perfect moment. You don't need perfect. You need progress. Tiny, messy, beautiful progress. And that starts now. All right, real talk. You're going to mess up. 100% guaranteed. You'll start strong, feel unstoppable. And then, bam, you'll skip a day, fall off track, or totally screw something up. And guess what? That's not failure. That's life. Here's the thing no one tells you. Messing up is part of the process, not a detour, not a disaster. It's built in. Progress is messy by design. You're not a robot, you're human. And humans? We trip, we fall, we get lazy, we overthink. The key isn't avoiding mistakes, it's learning how to bounce back faster. Every time you slip and keep going, you're building resilience. You're training your brain to understand that screwing up doesn't mean starting over. It means keep moving. Think of it like learning to ride a bike. You didn't fall once and say, well, guess biking's not for me. You kept wobbling, falling, and figuring it out. Same rule here. The only people who fail are the ones who quit. Everyone else just messy learners. So next time you mess up, and you will, smile. That means you're in the game. And that's what counts. All right, so now you know messing up is part of the game. But here's the next secret. Tiny wins? They're your superpower. I'm talking about the little things that seem almost too small to matter, like drinking a glass of water instead of soda, showing up on time, or writing one paragraph when you wanted to write 10. Those tiny wins, they're gold, because every time you stack one, you're proving to yourself, I can do hard things. And here's where it gets real. Progress is ugly. It's not this smooth, inspiring journey. It's you in sweatpants, wrestling with your own brain, winning some days and barely scraping by on others. But those little wins add up. They shift your identity from someone who wants to change to someone who is changing. And that shift, that's everything. So celebrate the tiny wins. Brag about your ugly progress. Because messy forward is still forward. And that's the only direction that matters. All right, here we are, the final piece. And if you've made it this far, you're already proving something massive, something most people don't even realize matters. You don't quit, even when it's messy, even when it's exhausting, even when a voice in your head hisses, "What's the point?" You kept going. And let me tell you, that's the game. That's what separates the people who wish their life was different from the ones who make it different. You showed up for yourself, over and over. And that's bigger than you know. Because we live in a world where quitting is easy, where it's normal to numb out, zone out, check out. And the fact that you're still here, pushing, questioning, fighting for more, that tells me everything I need to know about you. But now, listen close, because this is the part that matters most. You are not broken. I don't care how many times you've fallen apart. I don't care how messy your story is, how deep your wounds go, or how long you've felt stuck. You are not broken. You might feel cracked, you might feel tired, you might feel worn paper thin some days. But that's not brokenness. That's becoming. That's the hard, gritty work of growth. Every scar you've got, that's a receipt. Proof that you've been through the fire and came out the other side. Every stumble, every time life knocked you down and you thought, this is it, I'm done. But you got up anyway, that's power. That's you rebuilding yourself piece by piece. Stronger, wiser, sharper. And yeah, it's messy. It always is. Being unstoppable doesn't mean you never fall. It means you keep rising again and again, no matter how wrecked you feel in the moment. That's the secret no one tells you. True strength is built in the moments when you don't feel strong at all. But you keep moving anyway. So if there's one thing I want burned into your brain from all of this, it's this. Your power is not in perfection. Your power is in your refusal to give up on yourself. That's what makes you unstoppable. Not the shiny wins, not the highlight reel moments, but the quiet, relentless decision to keep showing up for your own life, even when no one's watching, especially then. And trust me, this moment, right now, it's just the beginning. You're not at the end of your story. You're standing at the edge of something new, something better. So take a deep breath, feel that fire in your chest, and get ready, because the best of you is still unfolding. And I am damn proud of you for making it here.